We're now going to move on to Pano Therapeutics, and we've got Ben Gibson, CEO, joining us here today. Are you with us, Ben?
Well, I'd like to thank Thomas and Zan and Team Connexum for organizing this event. It's a really remarkable event. It actually marks the 1-year anniversary for Pano Therapeutics and Connexum as having had our introduction, and to say that Team Connexum has been supportive of Pano would be the understatement of my lifetime. Really remarkable team and a great event. And thanks, Phil, for moderating the showcase. Looking forward to spending some more time with you going forward. My name is Ben Gibson. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pano Therapeutics. I've been working with Francesca Fiani, the scientific founder, for roughly 18 months. As the business guy on Team Pano, I'll do my best here to discuss the company and its domain and broad sweeping concepts that only non-scientists can get away with. I encourage the audience here to refer to yesterday morning's recorded session in which Pano's founder, Francesca, dove into the mitochondrial bioenergetics with Doug Wallace and a panel of scientists in the field. So to get a bit of a deeper scientific perspective on our domain, that should be a reference. And for any follow-up, we would also be grateful to hear from any of you. Our contact information is linked on Pano's website that we just put up, panotherapeutics.com. So just getting into the executive summary, Pano is a mitochondrial ion channel focused small molecule drug development platform company. So we're really embarking on a very tried and true strategy for small molecule drug development, targeting ion channels. It's a very mature business model. Really what's differentiated is the mitochondrial domain that's been very difficult to study historically. The company is built around a very important discovery of a novel potassium channel associated with complex 1 that is inhibited by metformin that Francesca made at UCSF roughly 3 years ago. This has given us the opportunity to launch 2 super metformin initial preclinical drug development programs that we believe address some of the critical limitations and deficiencies of metformin. We've got a core IP portfolio of patent applications in place and executive and advisory team that is truly remarkable. We've got some really interesting near-term milestones that we're going to talk about on a timeline here shortly. So this slide really explains Pano's alignment with Connexum's Metabesity theme and puts this in the context of mitochondrial biology and the story of metformin. So on the left side figure, we borrowed this from a 2011 Doug Wallace paper. Professor Wallace is one of the collaborators with Francesca on the core discovery around which Pano was built. And the paper really presents a paradigm where a mitochondrial dysfunction is described as the root of complex diseases of aging and the accelerated aging phenotype as well. As I mentioned, Doug presented some of this yesterday morning, and so that discussion should be available. Recorded. On the right side of the slide, we've got a figure that shows effectively the inverse. It describes metformin, which is known as a mild and transient inhibitor of mitochondrial complex 1, among other proposed mechanisms of action. It seems to act in a manner that unwinds many of these dynamics of dysregulated mitochondria, and consequently has substantial pleiotropic benefits. It's first-line defense for type 2 diabetes. There are literally hundreds of ongoing clinical trials for various cancer indications, other elements of complex diseases of aging, and even aging itself through the TEAM trial and various other ongoing initiatives that Nir Barzilai and others have been discussing at this event. It seems like every week there's a new study connecting metformin to improvements in various complex diseases of aging. That said, metformin presents well-known deficiencies, a very low potency on the mitochondrial target, has poor access. It requires the OCT1 transporter to enter cells, and that OCT1 transporter is expressed only in select tissues such as the liver. There's an unresolved specific mitochondrial mechanism of action and associated assay to screen new compounds relevant to this target, and of course, there are business model limitations for further clinical development of metformin as a 100-year-old off-patent drug. So we believe that the opportunity here is to develop improved, enhanced pleiotropic drugs addressing targets in this mitochondrial domain. So drilling down into mitochondrial ion channels and the core discovery around which Pano has been built. On the left side, this is our working scientific and business hypothesis, is that within mitochondria, the ion channels are very important central mediators of adaptive stress response. They control various very important processes such as energy metabolism, cell signaling and orchestration, oxidative stress, metabolic flexibility, the cell life cycle, even the organismal life cycle. And we believe that mitochondrial channel dysfunction manifests in this constellation of complex diseases of aging. So on the right side, this really describes the core discovery made at UCSF in 2017 of a novel potassium channel associated with complex 1 that is inhibited by metformin. And our current working hypothesis is that this is the root target of metformin and holds together the metabesity theme we're discussing at this event, the mitochondrial etiology of complex disease, the relevance of mitochondrial ion channels as pleiotropic drug targets, and particularly the significance of this novel potassium channel as a very important drug target that we're going to be building around. So on IP, quick summary of the 4 patent applications that really set the foundation for Pano. As I mentioned, Pano's genesis is a spin-out based on a discovery at UCSF. So there's a broad blocking patent that describes the assay modulation of the target for the treatment of diseases and disorders, et cetera. A very broad starting point. In the last couple of years, we've moved our center of gravity of our IP strategy down and to the right. So we've got 2 patent applications on file that comprise composition of matter claims, one for a natural compound formulation strategy and family, and one for a family of NMEs. So as I'm sure everybody on this in this forum knows, it's really those composition of matter claims that hold these business models together. 3 strategy pillars. The left-hand column here describes mitochondrial ion channel platform development. So this domain is historically very technical, very manual, and labor-intensive, and Pano is at the forefront of transitioning that to higher throughput, more modern technology platforms, with prototyping just being launched right now with a view to having production system up and running in about 9 months. There's very scarce domain knowledge in this mitochondrial environment for these types of technologies. So we believe we're going to have very sustainable competitive differentiation as a result. We've got 2 preclinical drug development programs based on the IP described in the prior slide. We've got an NME program where we've synthesized and filed patent applications as described, a number of novel synthetic compounds, and we believe that these are optimized initially for indications characterized by acute administration due to their unknown safety characteristics. So we're in the process of launching in vivo studies with an initial focus on select cancer indications. Really the strategy here is to be best first in class for this potassium ion channel target with this NME program, and that sort of links back to the platform strategy as described to stay ahead of the herd. And in the middle column, we describe a natural compound formulation drug development program. It's based on 2 synergistic APIs. The primary API is known also to be a mild and transient complex 1 inhibitor with significantly better access and potency on the target to metformin. We believe, based on the fact that the 2 APIs are known food compounds with clearly understood safety profiles, that this program will be optimized initially for indications characterized by chronic administration that benefit from that known safety profile. There's a counterintuitive element to the combination of the 2 compounds that supports patentability that we believe will be as durable as NME composition of matter claims. And we get access to the B2 pathway that gives us the ability to jump straight from IND into phase 2 on the basis of the known safety compound, the profiles of the compounds, but we believe we can do so without throwing the baby out with the bathwater on market exclusivity, because we've got this strong IP foundation for the program. We are targeting our first INDs on this program in mid-2021. So what are we doing with these programs? We've got, as we mentioned on the left, we're looking at the cardiometabolic indications for the natural compound program. On the right, we're looking at select cancer indications for the synthetic NMEs. In the middle, we've got colorectal cancer. That's actually our preliminary overlapping indication. So we're going to be looking at that for both the natural compound and the NMEs. So as we said, for the natural compound formulation strategy, we're in the process of hunting for our initial therapeutic indication. We've just completed a multi-morbidity POC model in Denmark called the Gubra Amylin NASH model. And we're about to run another POC, the more traditional diabetes model. We're going to be selecting our lead therapeutic indication. We're really doing this on what we described as the Amarin model. So because we've got core composition of matter claims that sit underneath this is purely clinical development strategy. We're looking for the most risk and capital efficient initial therapeutic indication with a view that we're going to be doing label expansion and crosswalking, ultimately with our ambition to develop an over-the-counter cardiometabolic drug and really hit the biggest possible market. As we mentioned, we've also got non-concentric opportunities here. And the first one we're looking at is colorectal cancer that's very closely associated with metabolic health issues such as obesity. We're funded here, we're in the process of getting funded rather to get to our first IND and the next stage of our funding strategy, which will be a seed that we're contemplating in Q2 2021. So in the upper part of this figure describes the various steps to get to IND and launch of phase 2 for our primary cardiometabolic indication. We've actually just in the last couple of days finished our first animal model. We described the GAN model in Denmark. We're going to be selecting our primary indication. If we decide to go forward with diabetes, we'll be doing a DBDB follow-up and rolling forward to that IND that we're targeting in early Q2. In parallel, we're working on the xenografts and other proof of concept work for both the natural and synthetic compounds for cancer proof of concept. And we're working on the prototyping of the mitochondrial ion channel electrophysiology platform, the higher throughput platform in the background. The idea here is that we're going to get to our first VC funding in Q2 with multiple proofs of concept or proof of concept in multiple different disease categories and for multiple different programs, the natural compound and the synthetic compounds, with a publication with a platform strategy in place. So we aim to check all the boxes we believe will be relevant for a tier 1 VC funding in Q2. We're in the back half of this $2.5 million pre-seed, and we're targeting a much bigger transaction, as I said, in Q2.
Great. Well, Ben, thank you so much for that. There's a lot to take on there, and very best of luck with your funding round. We're out of time, I'm afraid, and I know you have more slides to share with us, but that's a bit unfortunate. But we had a comment from Nia when you started talking about saying it's not clear that all targeting effects of metformin are through complex 1 inhibition. So did you have any quick comment on that at all?
Well, look, obviously it's incredibly topical. I know he published a review article this year. There was another one published just a few days ago. I should probably punt the deeper dive technical discussion to Francesca and Michael on our team, and we'll be happy to take that up here. As I mentioned, our contact information is available on our website. We'd be really thrilled to follow up with you and others.
Great. Very good. Well, Ben, thanks very much for your presentation. And as I say, best of luck with your fundraise next year.